Hey guys, it is Isaac. I want to answer the question today. How long should it be taking me to lose weight? Okay, and I'm also going to share some real life examples of clients and show their weight loss graph and add some context and explanation around how long it's taken them and what the kind of different circumstances and goals and everything like that, and how that's impacted it. Because that's such a really important question to ask yourself and be able to know the answer to. Because one of the biggest things that stops a lot of clients that I work with, people in general, is unrealistic expectations. And when it comes to something like, losing weight, which is can be a very challenging thing, especially if you've got no support and you're trying to undo years of bad habits, behaviors, beliefs. It's very important to have realistic expectations. And I want to say now, it took you more than a few weeks to get into the position that you're in now. It's going to take you more than a few weeks to get out of it. That's really important to understand. And if you do not have realistic expectations, then you are going to stress yourself out. And if you are stressed out, you are not going to be in a position to make good decisions with your food, to stay objective and reflect in an objective, critical thinking way when something goes wrong. You're going to have high emotional volatility. You're going to be fucked off with yourself if you do something and you mess up, if you have unrealistic expectations. So hopefully I can help you answer that, because if you are on a weight loss journey or a fitness journey, fat loss journey, you're trying to transform your physique, losing body fat is the first place where most people need to start, because it's going to get you feeling better. You're going to have more energy. Having more body fat than you want is the most common thing, because years of habits and behaviors and, focusing too much on work, having a few drinks every evening, like it's little habits like that, not moving, not walking, little habits like that build up over a very long period of time. And it takes time to undo these. So come on over to my desk and I want to show you a few examples, and I'm just going to explain their circumstances and add some insight to it. So let's have a look at this. Let me turn this around. So first of all, okay, let's look at this example, okay? We have one of my incredible clients who started with me in November 2023, okay? And they've gone from 134 all the way down to 106 kilos, okay? That is over 60 pounds. They have lost over 60 pounds, which is huge. And you can see that over a long time period, that's been 18 months, okay? Over a long time period, you can see the overall trend has been actually really steady. You can see it's actually in a straight line like this, which is really cool to see. But obviously, as soon as we zoom in, look, actually here, it does go up and down. And you see all these big ups and downs, like these are very, very normal. You can see these things, like they happen over a long time period. So that is one example that actually, when you zoom out over 18 months, that is a long time, it's a fairly steady trend, okay? Some weight loss journeys and stuff look like that, okay? Now, if you have more weight to lose, at the start, you can lose weight faster, okay? That's okay. If you have less to lose, it needs to be a bit slower, okay? That is just something to consider. But here, we can see that actually over an 18-month period, I'm going to have to do some maths now. Over an 18-month period, they have lost 62 pounds. I'm just working this out on here. 62 pounds divided by 18 months. So that's £3.5 a month on average. Okay, that's not loads. Okay, that's not loads if you were to look at it on a month's basis. But when you add that up over a long period of time, that's added up to £62. Okay, that is one example where you can have a really steady rate, and the challenges that was stopping this individual from doing that was he was a weekend warrior. Okay, he would try plans, and I know a lot of people can relate to this. He would try plans that were pretty full on, all or nothing, quite restrictive, like you've got to eat this, that and the other, with no teaching, no education on, okay, if I mess up and I can't stick to that, what should I do? Okay, so that obviously results in making decisions where if you can't do it, you think, oh, fuck it, I'll just have a burger from the van. Okay, that's what he did in his case, and then would love some pints on the weekend with his friends. Okay, that is the main challenge that we overcame, was come up with realistic strategies for those Friday evenings, for those times where he thought, fuck it, actually I just want a burger. If he did it, how would he realign himself? What kind of would go through his mind? What would his reflection process be? And also, how could he navigate weekends, you know, in a way that he really valued social time? Okay, so how can we do it where he still gets that, he still gets great crack with his mates, he gets to be social, doesn't have to be a hermit, but also he can do it in a way that aligns with his goals. Okay, those are the things that we overcame, and we came up with strategies that were specific to him in order to do that. And then as soon as he, overcame that, bam, he was sorted. And that's how he's been able to have such a consistent rate of loss. And he runs multiple businesses. He's a father of two. He's a busy guy. He's a very ambitious guy. Even recently, that's pretty much most of this year, he's had injuries, he's been on holidays, he's had business challenges, and he hasn't really trained. Yet he's still, because he knows what he's doing, because his mind is dialed in, because he has like real life strategies to follow, and he recognizes that if you train for 3 hours a week, that leaves 165 hours. He doesn't even train for 3 hours a week, but there's 165 hours left with sleep, stress management, your lifestyle habits, your nutrition that you need to look at. Okay, so that's just one example. And I want to share with you two other examples because these are really, really useful to understand and actually see real examples. So let's have a look at this example here. Okay, this client started with me back at the start of October last year. So they've been working with me for, October, November, December, 7 months. Okay, 7 months, or like 6.5 months. Now, this is a completely different graph. This was from way before when they were working with a previous coach. But we can see this is a completely different shape of graph. What we did here, between October the 1st and, to be honest, January the 5th, the first 3 months, if we look at that from a weight loss perspective, it hasn't happened. It didn't happen, okay? And I will tell you why it didn't happen. Because there were other things that we needed to sort out first. The thing that was stopping this individual from doing it was emotional management and emotional eating, okay? And in order to conquer emotional eating, that is a skill in self-awareness and emotional management. That isn't something that you can just follow a PDF meal plan for. Okay, you can't do that. Okay, this is about what we focused on within that time period. So objectively looking at that weight loss graph, the weight didn't change. If anything, it went up by like a few 100 grams. So basically weight maintenance. Okay, he didn't put on weight, but he wasn't like actively losing it. Okay, what we did in that time was focused on He went from training like not at all to training consistently about 4 times a week, which was amazing. Okay, he was building up those habits there. He also, and a lot of our conversations were around, he realised actually the weekends and the evenings specifically were the things that were holding him back. Okay, and we were managing emotional eating. And we found out from having good conversations and him being completely open and transparent with me that the thing that triggered it was boredom. It was boredom. He has, a busy job, stressful job, like a lot of people, and he would come home from work, he was super tired, and he would just want to kind of veg out on the sofa in front of the television. And obviously when he started adding in his training that we came up with, that helped, because he would come back, get changed, he'd go straight to the gym with his wife, which was great. They'd have a good session, they'd come back, but they would then, and especially he would want to watch TV. Okay, and he even told me, he was like, oh God, this gym is like a bit annoying because I feel good for doing it, but it means I get to watch less TV. Okay, and what we found, the thing that was triggering him to just eat mindlessly, it wasn't even a high emotional state. It was boredom. It was boredom. And we found that actually the reason he was eating stuff was because he was bored. He was watching TV. He was in the kind of same old routine of work, go to the gym, watch TV. And he was trying to do, find something to fill the time that was a bit more exciting. So his, thing that triggered it was boredom. And it took, from October the 1st all the way to January the 5th of us talking about this and working it out and identifying it before he started seeing the weight loss results. So now have a look at this. He has actually, from January the 5th, he's now, look at that, he's dropping, okay? And you can see it goes up and down. That's completely normal. But look, he's gone from all the way up here, just over 90 kilos, down to 86 kilos. Okay, so he's actually lost 9 pounds. Okay, and the amazing thing he's done is he gave himself time to work out what was actually going on. He told me this is a long-term thing I want to conquer. He wasn't in a rush, because like I said, if you're in a rush, if you're having unrealistic expectations around, oh, I want to lose the weight as quick as possible, don't get me wrong, you can achieve fast results. If you look at that first graph, that was someone before who had been out of shape for a long time. He'd always been overweight. He saw fast results, but he maintained it because of realistic expectations and actually giving himself the space. He knew he was in this for the long term. Same with this example, okay? He gave himself space to reflect, to get his mind right, to identify what was actually holding him back, which in his case was emotional eating, specifically highlighting that he got bored. So what was the fix we did? After, 3 months of conversations and him trying stuff and us communicating and going through the coaching process, we were like, right, if you're bored, we need to introduce more novelty. Okay, so he started adding in other hobbies, okay, other things so that he can break that pattern. And lo and behold, he's now on it with those evening things. He stopped mindlessly eating just to fill boredom, okay? And also, he, on the weekends, is much more aware of actually he has a complete lack of structure on the weekends. So that needed fixing. Like, okay, yes, it's lovely to have spontaneity at the weekends, but if you are just like, oh yeah, I don't want to restrict myself, I just want to have fun, how's that working out for you? Okay, you can still have fun, but have a strategy. If like your weight and how you feel in your body is impacting on your ability to show up in life, then it needs to be sorted. Like it does. So having no plan, saying, woohoo, I don't want to restrict myself, like, you can carry on doing that, but how is that working out for you in the grand scheme of things? Okay, it's not going to give you the best outcome. So what we did was recognize, okay, he likes spontaneity, he likes going on adventures and stuff, and that adds with, you know, what we identified around having more novelty so that he doesn't boredom eat. So he goes off on adventures, does different things on the weekends, goes on like hikes, goes on trips. He's been bouldering, like, you know, all different things that are including more novelty in his life, but are also, he's thinking about some structure for the weekends. Okay, by adding in some structure, adding in 3 regular proper meals throughout the day helps you add structure to your day rather than just going with the flow. Because if you just go with the flow of things, like even if I just go with the flow of things, I have a lot of awareness. I've been working on this for years, but it still won't go particularly well for me if I just go with the flow. I have a structure that I follow, so it removes a lot of the thinking. Okay, so that is another example. Okay, and the key takeaways from that example, he gave himself time. He's not rushing it because he knows this is a long-term thing that he wants to crack. Like, he wants to stay in shape for life. He wants to consistently have this long term. And the last YouTube video I put up, if any of you have watched that, I was talking about the brain takes twice as long to catch up with physical change. So a 3 to 4 months transformation, you're actually looking at the best part of a year to really have it solidified, because it takes the brain a long time for that neural rewiring to happen of like how you think about things. What are your habits? What are your default responses if you have a bar of chocolate? Do you freak out, or do you just think, actually, I really enjoyed that, I'm going to realign myself and I'm going to get back to the plan? Okay, that is another example. And I want to share with you one more example because it also looks different. Okay, so have a look at this. Where are you? But I hope you're finding this useful so far, guys. And obviously this is a very rough and ready video. I hadn't actually scripted this. There's no editing to it. I'd love to know your feedback. Do you prefer these style of videos that are just more impromptu and no editing, or do you prefer some of the other ones that I've done where it's more edited, more fast paced in that way? I'd love some feedback. Drop a little comment. I would really value that. So let's have a look at this. Here we go. Okay. So this is another example of a weight loss graph. This individual started with me around 106. Okay, here lost basically 106 down to 98. So over a stone. Okay, over a stone. As you can see here, that went up. At this point, he said to me, he said, oh, right, I haven't, hang on. He said, I've enjoyed Christmas. I know I haven't stuck to what I've done. He basically had like nights out, obviously over Christmas period, totally cool. But he was aware of that. He was like, I'm choosing to do this because I'm enjoying it. I'm going to enjoy the results. And he was already getting comments from friends and family and colleagues and stuff at all of these things, which is a lovely place to be. And what we realized, he'd had about probably 3 weeks of being off track, like completely not doing what got him to that position, which is absolutely fine. He made a conscious decision to do that. So when it got to January the 1st, he'd put on basically a stone over Christmas. We didn't freak out. Okay, he wasn't freaking out because he was like, right, I know I haven't done it for 3 weeks. So actually, what our plan was, right, let's just resume what we were doing before for 3 weeks. And look at this. Lo and behold, 3 weeks around here, he was pretty much back to where he was before. Okay? Really, really simple. Okay? And a key takeaway from that is, if you have been on holiday or something, if you have been off over Christmas or any period of time, even if you're off over, any period of time that you've been off, don't freak out, because you don't need the scales to tell you how bad you've been. You will be aware whether or not you've done it or not. So if you want to stay neutral, do it, or don't even weigh. This individual wanted to. He's pretty emotionally stable with it, and he was like, I like data. He finds that data motivates him. But if you're someone who freaks out at that sort of stuff, then don't weigh. Don't weigh until you've done the equal. Say if you've had a 2-week holiday completely off the plan, don't weigh until you've done 2 weeks back into normal behaviours. And when you do that, you literally will be back to where you are. Really, really simple. Okay, so don't put yourself in a position that is going to freak you out and like piss you off. Really simple. But looking at this, okay, he actually, felt like he plateaued. He'd done the original things here. So he got back to where he was, but then it had plateaued for another couple of weeks. And at this point, this is really interesting, this drop here, he reached out to me at this point, okay, there. And he said to me, I feel like I've plateaued, the rate of progress, I've kind of done the newbie gains phase or whatever, and I've got back to where I was, but I feel like I've plateaued. That next drop from 99.5 down to 96.9, so that is basically 2.5 kilos, okay, that is like 6 pounds. That next drop, guess what the thing that was causing that? I don't know why I'm asking you, because I'm filming a YouTube video, so it's only me here. But it was sauces and like butter and spreads. That was it. Okay, he was tracking food at the time because for some people, like, it's the most accurate and it's a fantastic tool to use for a period of time, so that before you then transition into more like habitual guideline-based approaches. And it's dependent on whether or not you want to go into that level of detail or not. There's pros and cons to both. Also your relationship with food as well. But he has a very solid one and he wanted to do it. He loves data, so it was really good for him. He said to me, Isaac, I'm tracking all of my food. I'm tracking all my food. And I feel like I've got past the newbie gains bit and it's stopped. Okay, I said, okay. Rather than me thinking, oh, okay, we need to cut calories even more, obviously that wouldn't be the case. I said, well, I didn't know if it was the case. I said, how well have you been sticking to it? He went, oh, well, I think I've been doing X, Y, Z. And we identified he hadn't been tracking oils, spreads, sauces. That was it. When he did it, he lost 2.5 kilos over the next sort of 2 weeks. Okay, really simple. And the reason I'm telling you this, guys, is that I know there's kind of lots of little things in there. The reason I'm showing this is because these are 3 real life examples. All 3 of these individuals are still working with me now, okay? And we're continuing to build on their results so far, which, let's face it, are incredible, okay? I'm super, super proud of them. But to come back to the original question of why I built this video, of how long should it take me to lose weight? You can see here, all of those different examples have lost massively different amount of weight over different time periods. Okay, a really nice rate of fat loss is 1 to 2 pounds per week. Okay, on average, that is a lovely rate to aim for. Sometimes it might be a bit slower than that if you look at the second example. And actually, the first example I did over the long term was at about 3.5 pounds a month, which is slower than that, okay, over a long time. But to do that consistently over a long time period is very different. The second example has been a little bit slower than that as well. But you can see that there were things that we needed to sort first in actually managing emotional eating, becoming more self-aware, having better emotional awareness and stuff, better stress management, all that sort of stuff. The answer to the question is how long should it take is you could do 1 to 2 pounds a week. Okay, so if you think I've got a stone to lose, that is 14 pounds, okay, in a stone. You could say the quickest it's potentially going to be is, what would that be? I don't know, say 7 weeks. It might be a bit quicker, might be a bit slower, but that can give you a rough ballpark figure, 1 to 2 pounds a week. Okay, work out how much weight you want to lose, and then you can set a bit of that's a nice starting point to kind of set your expectations. But the key thing that you will not know unless you have an actual professional like myself work with you on this is that there will be other things that you potentially cannot see. That if, that second example, if he hadn't had my help, would he have recognized that actually emotional eating and boredom was the trigger, the thing that was causing him to go off track? Okay, you can't, every single example is different. So you can take that rate of £1 to £2 a week to give you a rough ballpark. Okay, that's a good idea to do. And it's nice to understand that, because if you were paying to get building work done, you wouldn't want the builders coming in saying, yep, it's £200 a day, don't know how long I'll be there. That's incredibly scary. If you don't know how long it's going to take, you can't make sense of it in your head. So that's what I would suggest doing, £1 to £2 a week for however much weight you want to lose. Okay, that's going to give you a faster to a slower rate. That's a good starting point to set an expectation. If you start trying something and it's not going to that rate or how you want it, then you need to do some problem solving. And it's hard to do on your own. It's possible, okay, but you need to have subject knowledge around nutrition, training, all of that. But you also need to have self-awareness, emotional awareness, all of those things, good stress management techniques. And from my perspective, I've worked with over 94 people inside Lead from the Front, which is my coaching program. And I've been doing this for years. That is incredibly hard to do on your own. Okay, that is incredibly hard. I have trained for years. I have a degree in strength and conditioning. I've got multiple qualifications. I've invested over £45,000 into my own development as a coach, creating my coaching program, as a business owner, all of these things. I've done a lot. And having someone like myself to help you diagnose that is going to be great. Okay, it's going to be so valuable. So the take home from this, again, sorry, this is completely unscripted, but I hope that was useful seeing the different examples. The take home from this is, how long is it going to take you to lose weight? Great starting point, take £1 to £2 per week. Okay, think about how much weight you want to lose. That's going to give you a starting point. You've then got a faster to slower rate, and that's going to give you a rough ballpark. What you won't see is that once you get there, you do then need to have the skills to be able to maintain that. So you cannot just track your food for the rest of your life, because when you can't, that's you being reliant on external things to tell you if you're on track or not. There's no element of mastery there. Okay, and this is so unexpected challenges and things, and the causes of you potentially of gaining weight is going to be very different. Your journey is going to look very different, but that's a great starting point. Okay, I hope that was useful. I'm going to stop going on now, but I hope that was useful to see the examples and just talk through very candidly around what we did and the different things we focused on. And inside Lead from the Front, we have various systems and processes and methods to help you, say if you struggle with your evening meal to track your food, we use the 3-1 method. Okay, that's a method we have. If you struggle with being busy and creating, cooking from scratch every time, we have go-to meals. Okay, we have so many different systems. We literally have a system for everything. If you're unorganized, we have the weekly success system. There are so many different things, okay, inside Lead from the Front, and there's only so much context I can add. Obviously, one of those guys I've been working with for 18 months, and he's still continuing to grow and achieve amazing results. If you would like my help, just drop me an email saying LFTF or Lead from the Front to isaac@isaacjlewis.com. I will put the link in the description. If you would like a free guide, then you're welcome to grab that. I've got a free 3-part mini-series called How to Get Your Shit Together and Stay in Shape for Life, covering the first kind of 3 basic steps in order to start doing this yourself, and that's completely free. If you want to grab that, again, the link is in the description, or you can go to www.leadfromthefront.co.uk. But hope that was useful, hope that was insightful, and I'll see you in the next video.